Welcome to From Vision to Venture, the podcast for entrepreneurs, dreamers, and changemakers ready to turn ideas into thriving businesses. I'm Neville Solomon, and each week we'll explore the strategies, mindsets, and practical steps needed to start, grow, and scale successful ventures. Because every great business starts with a vision, and your journey starts right here.
So, 9 out of 10 startups fail.
Right.
And if you read almost every single postmortem out there, they all basically place the blame on the exact same external factors.
Oh, absolutely. It's always the market shifted or, the funding just dried up.
Right, or the competitors simply outspent them. But if you actually look at the data, and we have a really fascinating stack of research to look at today, those external factors are, well, they're usually just convenient excuses.
Yeah, they really are. Because the actual reason those businesses die, it happens long before the first line of code is even written or, before the first product is ever sold.
Exactly. The founders simply wasn't ready to build themselves.
Yeah, that's the hard truth.
So welcome to From Vision to Venture. Today we are digging into founder psychology. Specifically, we're exploring the Tikvah Pathways startup readiness ecosystem.
Which is such a brilliant framework, honestly.
It really is.
Yeah.
And our mission today is to answer a pretty painful question. Why does an average idea in the hands of a prepared and adaptable founder turn into this massive success, while a totally brilliant, world-changing idea in the hands of an unprepared founder almost always crashes and burns?
Well, the core philosophy running through all the Tikvah Pathways materials is pretty stark. The gap between being excited about entrepreneurship and actually being prepared for it, it is incredibly vast.
It's like a totally different universe.
It really is. I mean, excitement is just a temporary emotion, right? You watch a video, you get hyped. But preparedness is a concrete state of capability.
Yeah. So I want you, the listener, to do something a little difficult right now. I want you to take all your brilliant business ideas, your product sketches, your marketing plans, and just shove them in a mental drawer for the next 20 minutes.
Just lock them away.
Exactly. Stop looking at the business for a second, and let's look really closely at the builder. Ask yourself honestly, are you actually ready to become the person your business needs you to be?
That is the ultimate question. And to really grasp what readiness means here, we have to start by, completely redefining failure.
Okay, how so?
Well, when a founder says, we ran out of runway, they are treating the market like it's a villain, like it's actively out to get them.
Right, like the market just decided to be mean today.
Exactly. But the market is just a neutral landscape. It's just numbers and behaviors. The market didn't run out of money. The founder failed to manage cash flow.
Or they failed to convince investors to give them more capital.
Yes. Or they just failed to build a product that people actually wanted to buy in the first place.
So startups fail because founders, maybe they fear selling, or they lack discipline. They give up when things get hard, or they let their own ego block critical feedback.
Exactly. The market isn't failing them. It's simply exposing them.
Exposing them. I love that phrasing. It's like the market is an entrepreneurial mirror.
That's exactly what it is. Or, another way to look at it, it acts as an acoustic amplifier.
Oh, like a sound amplifier.
Yeah, well, think about a tiny, almost invisible crack in a piece of wood.
Right.
If you just leave it there, it's fine. But if you put that wood under a massive amount of structural stress...
Oh, wow. Yeah. That tiny crack doesn't just stay small.
Exactly. It splinters the entire board. Entrepreneurship takes the psychological and behavioral flaws you already have, and it just amplifies them to a blinding, deafening degree.
Let's put a real-world scenario to that, just to make it super concrete. Say you have this slight personal tendency to avoid conflict.
Very common.
Super common, right? In your normal personal life, maybe you just don't send the cold soup back at a restaurant. Or, you dodge an annoying text from a friend for a few days.
Right. It's a minor flaw. No big deal.
Exactly. But put that exact same trait into a startup environment.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you have to fire an underperforming vendor who is literally bleeding your capital dry.
Or you have to look your lead developer in the eye and tell them their work just isn't up to standard.
Yeah. And if you naturally avoid those difficult conversations, that tiny personal crack, the cold soup crack, it amplifies into a completely toxic company culture.
And eventually a totally ruined product.
And the business eventually collapses.
Which is why the Tikvah Pathways research suggests that entrepreneurship is actually, it's one of the most intense forms of personal development in disguise.
Personal development in disguise. That is so true.
It has to be. The business will inevitably reflect the founder's internal state. Every single time.
So the founder's mind is chaotic. the operations will be chaotic.
Yes. And if the founder is hesitant, the company's momentum just completely stalls out. This perfectly explains that phenomenon we were talking about earlier, where two different people can be handed the exact same market opportunity.
Right, the exact same starting capital.
The exact same resources, and they get wildly different results.
Because the business is entirely bottlenecked by the founder's psychology.
Absolutely.
So if the startup is an amplifier and it's going to basically broadcast all our internal flaws to the world, the logical first move before launching anything is to proactively map those flaws out.
You have to. You have to know exactly where your cracks are before you apply the pressure.
Which honestly requires an incredibly uncomfortable level of self-awareness.
Oh, it's brutal. But great founders do not pretend to be good at everything. They possess this deep, really objective understanding of their strengths and, more importantly, their development gaps.
Right, so let's look at the visionary archetype for a second. We all know this founder. They can see the future of an industry like 5 years out.
Oh, yeah. They pitch like an absolute dream.
Exactly. And they can rally an entire team behind this massive world-changing idea.
But ask them to manage a spreadsheet or, balance a budget or maintain a daily logistical workflow, and the whole thing just falls apart.
Totally. They're the ones who sell a feature to a client that the engineering team hasn't even started building yet.
Precisely. And the inverse of that is just as common. You have these brilliant operational minds who execute logistical miracles flawlessly.
Right. Their spreadsheets are beautiful.
Beautiful, but put them in a room to sell the grand vision to a skeptical client or a venture capitalist, and they completely freeze up.
Yeah. So the key is asking, what am I naturally good at? What tasks do I actively avoid? And where do I objectively need help?
Yes, those are the exact right questions.
But wait, let me push back on this for a second on behalf of the listener.
Huh?
Look at the reality of bootstrapping.
Okay, sure.
You have no money. You have to be the visionary, the operator, the janitor, the accountant, all of it. So how does admitting you're bad at operations actually help if you can't afford to hire an operations manager yet? You still have to get the work done.
That's a great point. But self-awareness doesn't mean you simply refuse to do the things you're bad at.
Okay.
It changes the mechanism of how you approach the work. If you know you're a terrible operator, but you must run operations, you don't just wing it and hope for the best.
Because you know you'll drop the ball.
Right. So instead, you implement rigid, almost draconian systems to keep yourself in check. You use software to automate the things you'd likely forget.
Oh, I see.
You find a mentor to specifically double-check your operational logic. You still wear the hat, but you build scaffolding around yourself because you know the hat doesn't fit naturally.
That makes so much sense. So you were basically engineering guardrails around your own incompetence.
Exactly.
Rather than just blindly making mistakes because your ego tells you, oh, I'm great at everything.
Yes, and managing your own limitations like that is crucial because of the environment you're operating in. I mean, entrepreneurship literally guarantees uncertainty.
Yeah, it's just nonstop unknowns.
You are constantly facing moments where you have to make high-stakes choices. Do we pivot the entire product strategy? Do we spend our last $10,000 on this one marketing push?
Or do we just walk away entirely?
Exactly. And here's the kicker. You never have all the data.
Never. You're always waiting for that one more metric or, that one more customer interview that'll make the choice obvious.
And it just never arrives. If you wait for perfect information, your business dies. Perfect inclination simply does not exist in a startup environment. So your self-awareness acts as the compass for how you make decisions in that fog of war. Successful founders evaluate the risk, they trust their understanding of the situation and their own biases, and they move.
Because paralysis by analysis is a luxury you just cannot afford. You have to make the call with incomplete data and adjust on the fly.
Always. But making an internal decision is only half the battle. Deciding to pivot is just a thought.
Yeah, actually executing that pivot in the physical world is where the fantasy of launching a startup usually collides with a brick wall.
This is where the romantic illusion truly shatters. I mean, ideas are practically worthless on their own. I'm sure you know plenty of people who have notebooks filled with brilliant million-dollar concepts.
Oh, totally. Everyone has a groundbreaking idea in the shower.
Right.
The water is warm. There's no friction. The idea feels completely flawless.
The execution is exceedingly rare. Moving from that internal decision to external action requires execution discipline.
Which is not as fun as brainstorming.
No, it's not. It means showing up every single day, maintaining forward momentum, and completing really tedious, unglamorous tasks long after the initial excitement has evaporated.
Right.
Businesses are not built by bursts of inspiration. They are built by relentless, boring, consistent action.
Yeah, I think people deeply misunderstand the concept of motivation here.
How so?
Well, motivation is basically an emotional sugar rush. It feels incredible.
Yeah.
When you first get the idea, you're awake at 3 a.m., you're buying domain names, sketching logos, you feel completely unstoppable.
Oh, it's the best feeling in the world.
It is. But just like a sugar rush, your biology literally cannot sustain it. You crash. You cannot build a 5-year business on the fumes of an initial sugar rush. You have to replace that feeling with systems.
That transition right there, from motivation to systems, that is the great filter that eliminates most aspiring entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's where people drop off.
You have to do the work because it is Tuesday, and the system dictates the work happens on Tuesday. Not because you feel inspired.
You create habits and routines that drag you forward, even when you are completely exhausted and, honestly, doubting the entire venture.
But even with perfect, rigid systems, things are eventually going to break.
Oh, inevitably.
And when that first major crisis hits, when the systems fail, we see the second major drop-off point for founders, which is emotional collapse.
Because failure in this arena is not a possibility. It is a mathematical certainty.
Absolutely. A product launch will flop. A marketing campaign will burn thousands of dollars with absolutely zero return, or a crucial partnership you relied on will just fall apart.
So what separates the founder who quits and just goes back to a corporate job from the one who eventually succeeds?
It is purely how they frame that failure.
Okay, so how do they frame it? What is the actual mechanism making them resilient?
Resilient founders possess the ability to view failure purely as data. When a major setback happens, an unprepared founder asks the victim question. They say, "Why is this happening to me?"
Ah, right. The algorithm hates me, the investors are biased, the universe is just against my success.
Yes. And asking, "Why me?" triggers a defensive emotional response in the brain. You feel attacked, so you retreat, you get angry, or you just shut down entirely.
Makes sense.
But a ready founder, however, asks the growth question. What is this teaching me?
What is it teaching me?
Exactly. By asking an analytical question, you force your brain out of that emotional stress response and into a problem-solving state. You effectively hijack your own biology.
That is a massive distinction.
Yeah.
What is this teaching me? Basically turns a devastating emotional blow into an intellectual puzzle.
It neutralizes the sting.
Yeah. It removes your ego from the equation, so you can just look at the broken pieces on the floor and figure out how to put them back together differently.
Because failure isn't evidence of incapability. It is simply evidence that you are attempting something highly difficult.
Right.
Resilience is the mechanism that turns the setback into a crucial learning opportunity. But to actually capitalize on that opportunity, you have to be a dedicated student.
Which means you need a growth mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, if you believe your current abilities, your intelligence, your talent level are all static-like, that you just are who you are, you're going to stall out.
Exactly. Successful entrepreneurs actively embrace lifelong learning. They understand that to scale their company, they must constantly scale themselves.
They have to continually develop their financial literacy, their sales capabilities, communication, strategic thinking, all of it.
Yes.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second here, especially looking at the digital age.
Okay, go for it.
Say you build a software tool or a consumer product, and it just catches the zeitgeist on social media, it goes wildly viral on TikTok or whatever, and the market just aggressively pulls the product forward.
Right, the dream scenario.
Yeah. Doesn't that business scale far beyond the founder's current capabilities just by the sheer force of market demand? Like, why does the founder's personal growth matter if the product is basically selling itself?
That is a common question, but it highlights the critical difference between capturing a trend and building a company.
Okay, unpack that.
A highly viral product might cause a massive temporary spike in revenue and attention. Suddenly you have 10,000 orders overnight. It's incredible.
Right.
But sustaining a scalable enterprise around that product requires evolving leadership.
I see. Because if you don't know how to run operations, those 10,000 orders don't ship on time.
Exactly. The payment processors ban you for chargebacks, customer service is a nightmare, and the company basically dies in 2 weeks.
Wow, yeah. The virality actually kills it faster if you aren't ready.
Yes. Managing a team of 3 people in a garage coding an app requires a completely different skill set than managing a team of 50 people across different departments, dealing with complex supply chains or, navigating corporate governance.
Right.
When founders stop learning and refuse to adapt to the new complexities of their own success, the business hits a physical ceiling. It becomes chaotic, the culture turns toxic, and it becomes wildly inefficient.
Because the demands of the business never stop growing.
Exactly. To build a sustainable long-term venture, you have to commit to lifelong learning.
So the business can really only grow as large as the founder's capacity to lead it. You literally become the bottleneck to your own success.
Which brings us full circle, really. Before you pour your life savings into building the business, you must consciously build the person who is going to lead it. Every single successful venture begins with a prepared founder.
That is so powerful. So the market amplifies your flaws. Self-awareness maps them out. Systems replace fleeting motivation. Framing failures as puzzles saves you from emotional collapse. And continuous learning prevents you from becoming the bottleneck.
That's the ecosystem in a nutshell.
It's brilliant. So to help you, the listener, figure out exactly where you stand on all of this, we have 5 challenge questions drawn straight from the Tikvah Pathways material.
I highly recommend writing these down, maybe taking them on a walk and answering them with brutal honesty.
Absolutely. Think deeply about these 5 areas. Number 1, am I disciplined?
Right. Do I execute the tedious work when the motivation is completely gone?
Exactly. Number 2, how do I respond to failure?
Do I ask, why me? Or do I ask, what is this teaching me?
Spot on. Number 3, what skills do I objectively need to develop right now to not be a liability to my own idea?
Number 4, can I make firm, strategic decisions under the pressure of incomplete information?
And finally, number 5,
Yeah.
am I genuinely committed to continuous, lifelong growth?
Your honest answers to those questions will tell you exactly what you need to work on before you worry about your logo or your pitch deck.
Yeah, the pitch deck can wait. But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today.
Okay.
We've established today that a startup success is almost entirely dependent on the founder's psychological readiness and personal growth. The idea is secondary to the execution, and the execution is dictated by the mind of the builder.
Right.
So if that is statistically true, should venture capitalists and banks stop asking founders for their 5-year financial projections and start asking them for psychological evaluations?
Oh, wow. That's a fascinating idea.
Because, let's be real, the spreadsheet is usually a complete fantasy. But the founder's character is a reality.
That is such a good point. A spreadsheet won't tell you if they're going to quit when things get hard.
Exactly. Well, thank you for joining us on this exploration. Now that we've started building the foundation of a founder, look out for our next topic on From Vision to Venture, where we'll dive into idea validation and business models. We're going to figure out how to ensure that brilliant idea is actually something the market wants.
Can't wait for that one.
Until then, keep building yourself, keep building your vision, and keep moving from vision to venture.
Thank you for joining me on From Vision to Venture. Remember, successful businesses aren't built overnight. They're built through clarity, consistency, and the courage to take the next step. Every entrepreneur starts with a vision, but it's intentional action that turns that vision into a venture.